A video went viral last month. A woman in her early 30s sitting in her living room, looking genuinely confused. She says, I have a good job, I own my apartment, I go to therapy, I've done everything right. And the men I meet, they're not interested. My brother hasn't been on a date in 2 years. When I asked him why, he shrugged and said, I don't need the headache. What happened? When did men decide we weren't worth the effort? That video has over 7 million views. Underneath all the noise, there's a quiet truth nobody is saying. Men aren't walking away because they hate women. They're walking away because they did the math and the equation stopped making sense. Let's look at the numbers. In 1970, nearly 90% of Americans had been married by age 30. Today, that number is under 40%. But here's what's interesting. When researchers ask young men if they want to get married someday, the majority still say yes. They want partnership. They're just not convinced that modern marriage is worth what it costs them. A 2025 study from the Institute for Family Studies asked single men why they weren't pursuing relationships. The top answer wasn't, I don't want commitment. It was, I don't see what I get out of it that makes the risk worth taking. Men aren't saying no to love. They're saying no to a deal that feels one-sided. There's a concept in economics called risk-reward analysis. Every decision is weighed against potential outcomes. When men look at dating and marriage today, they see a system with asymmetric risk. The potential rewards are the same as they've always been: love, partnership, family. But the potential costs have multiplied: financial risk, emotional risk, reputational risk, legal risk. And when the risks outweigh the rewards, rational actors withdraw. Take the financial risk. A 2024 study found that men still pay for the majority of dates, even in relationships where women earn equal or more. The expectation persists. Add to that the rising cost of living. The average American man has around $800 of disposable income per month after expenses. One serious dating attempt per week can eat $300 of that. 40% of disposable income. For what? For dates that often lead nowhere. Then there's the emotional risk. A 2024 study from the American Psychological Association found that men in heterosexual relationships report significantly lower levels of emotional support than women do in the same relationships. Men are expected to be the rock, the stable one. When they do break down, they're often met with confusion or disappointment. Over time, men learn that vulnerability is a risk. They learn to handle things alone, and then they're called emotionally unavailable. The cycle is self-reinforcing. Men are told to be more open. When they're open, they're told they're too much. Men are told to express feelings. When they express them, they're told they're being dramatic. Men are told to be vulnerable. When they're vulnerable, they're told to man up. After enough cycles, men stop listening to what they're told and start watching what actually happens. What actually happens is emotional openness gets punished. Now consider the legal risk. A 2026 survey by a family law organization found that 70% of men who had been through a divorce said they would not marry again. The most common answer wasn't about losing assets. It was about losing access to their children. Men watch their friends go through divorces. They watch them lose their homes, their savings, their kids. They think, if love ends this way, maybe I'm better off not starting. The legal system is perceived as biased in custody disputes. Whether that perception is accurate or not, it shapes behavior. Men see that they can do everything right and still end up with every other weekend visitation. That's not a risk many are willing to take. There's also a cultural shift that nobody is talking about. For the first time in American history, men are not the primary drivers of the economy. Women are earning more. Women are more educated. Women are more independent. That's a good thing. But it's created a situation where men don't know what their role is anymore. If a woman doesn't need a man to provide, doesn't need him to protect, doesn't need him to make her life easier, then what is he supposed to bring? This is the deeper truth. Men aren't walking away because they don't want women. They're walking away because they no longer understand what they're supposed to offer. And if they don't know what they're supposed to offer, they don't know if they're good enough. And if they don't know if they're good enough, they stop trying. A 2025 Pew Research study found that among adults not in a relationship, men are significantly more likely than women to say they're not looking. Not because they're happy alone, but because they've concluded the effort required to find a partner isn't worth the return. When men look at the dating market in 2026, they see a system where they're expected to initiate, to plan, to pay, to perform, to be confident but not arrogant, vulnerable but not weak, ambitious but not obsessed with work. They see a system where one wrong move can land them on social media being called a creep, and they ask themselves, what am I getting in return? The upside used to be clear: a partner, a family, a home, a shared life. But those things don't look the same anymore. Marriage is riskier than ever. Divorce rates are high. The legal system is seen as biased. And the cultural narrative around men has become increasingly negative. When men are constantly told they're the problem, eventually they start to believe it. And then they remove themselves from the equation. I'm not saying men are blameless. I'm not saying women are wrong for wanting more. What I'm saying is there's a logic to why men are walking away. It's not random. It's not a phase. It's a response to the incentives they see. When the system punishes effort and rewards withdrawal, people withdraw. A 31-year-old man put it this way: I'm not walking away from women. I'm walking toward peace. And right now, peace is on the other side of the dating world. I'm not closing the door forever, but I'm not going to stand there waiting for someone to decide I'm worth it. I'm going to live my life. If someone wants to join me, great. But I'm not chasing. I'm not performing. I'm just living. That's what walking away looks like. Not anger, not bitterness. A quiet decision to prioritize peace over pursuit, to choose stability over uncertainty. If you're a man who's walked away, I see you. You're not broken. You're just someone who decided your peace is worth protecting. If you're a woman wondering why the men are gone, now you know. They're not hiding. They're not playing games. They're just somewhere else, living their lives, waiting to see if anything worth coming back for shows up. And until something changes, they're going to stay right where they are. This is Men Decoded, where we don't blame men, don't shame women, and don't avoid the truth. We decode it